Alright, hello and welcome to the third tutorial for the GHT study tool. In this video, I'm going to show you some advanced search features that are particularly useful for deeper study. Since we will not be navigating by reference, I will collapse the reference GUI to give us a little bit more room to work with. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a multi-word search. You can do as many terms as you want, space separated. For example, Jesus anointed. It's going to find every verse that has Jesus and anointed in it. Not just Jesus, not just anointed. Now notice how sometimes it's anointed Jesus, and other times it's Jesus anointed with something in between, and other times it's not. This is where this first search keep feature comes in. That is ordered and adjacent. You can narrow your search by asking for something in the order that you searched it, in which case no anointed Jesus will show up. And you can also show adjacent so that nothing comes in between the two words you searched. You can also, of course, do adjacent by itself, in which case the rare case of anointed Jesus will show up. Now notice how we have both the English and the Greek text. In fact, when you hover over it, you get the morphology and the Strong's number and even the roots, which I'll talk about in a later video. You can search for any one of these terms. I call them terms. A word is every unit. This whole thing is a word. The Jesus, Yesu, and noun GMS, and 2424, and Yesu. Those are all one word. This is another word, this is another word, and this is another word. A term within a word is a specific type of information about the word. The English translation, the original Greek, the morphology, and so on and so forth. You can search for anything. So if you were to search for Jesus plus Christ, it's going to come up with the same results. Nothing changed because I searched for something that is in every single case of anointed. However, if I search for Christo, it's going to be more specific because, as we know, Christo is the genitive case. And so we're going to eliminate all the places of anointed without the genitive. Now, if you don't remember how to inflect words, you could also search for the grammar. You know that the word anointed is a singular noun in the masculine, so if you wanted to search for the genitive case, you could do that, and we're going to get the same results. Except for, now you've increased the amount of hits, because Herod is a genitive noun, son is a genitive noun, and so on. Beyond space-separated searches, you are also able to narrow your search by means of multiple terms, combining them. Jesus plus noun, genitive, masculine, singular, is going to search for only cases of Jesus in the genitive, or you could do that in the nominative. You could also do, with a bar instead of a plus, Jesus or nominative noun, in which case you're going to get every single one of Jesus, whether it's Jesus in the genitive or the nominative, and then any case of a nominative noun. So just to recall, that's plus is for and bar is for or. When searching for morphology, you can search for a very specific morphology, such as verb, present tense, optative, active, third person singular. However, you may not care whether it's third person singular or not, in which case you're only looking for present tense, optative, active voice verbs. So you can change to a wildcard by using the underscore character. In such a case, you're going to find a plural optative. Well, what if you want to see all optative verbs entirely? You can do that. Just switch anything that you don't care about to a wildcard. There we go. This is in the middle voice, this is in the aorist tense, and so on and so forth. From there, let's talk about the build query tool. Since I have so many cool search features, I figured I'd put that into a nice, easy way of searching. You can type in your term here, specify what you're looking for, now we see all the cases where Jesus is not immediately followed by anointed. That's because you're able to do a negative and search for something that's anything but. And of course, when I had ordered and adjacent off, almost everything came true because most words are not anointed. So of course, when you're using the nots, you should probably do that in combination with either a different word or by using the and to narrow your search. You can get really creative with this. Now, one other option is that you can use the equal sign. So if you have exact match off, and you want to search for 4 generations, but you want to see if it ever talks about 4 generations instead of 14, you can search for equals 4. And the answer, of course, is no. There are no verses that contain exactly 4 plus the word gen. There we go. You can combine not equal, and of course, that's going to catch everything because almost everything is not equal to 4. And this is a good reason to use the combinations to limit things. Of course, this is a redundant search because 14 is obviously not exactly equal to 4. However, I am sure you can find creative uses for all of this. Now, one thing I want to point out is that when you search for words in the ordered and adjacent, it's going to search according to the word order that you are currently looking at. For example, there's no verses containing oi me, but there are verses containing me oi. That's because when we translate, me is no and oi is not, generally speaking. But when we turn this into English, it tends to be that you want to say no, you would not come into, or in the common English phrase, no, I did not, for example. However, when the Greeks said it, if we switched out of reverse into linear, you'll notice the opposite is true. So they would say not no. Not no you may come out. Not no you should complete. Not no he would destroy off away. So keep in mind when you are doing searches that matter for the order of words, you should probably look in non-reverse interlinear because that's the original Greek word order. And if you're trying to demonstrate something to yourself and try to understand how they spoke, you'd probably make sure that you do it in the order that they spoke it. Now, I'm going to show you a short example of Hebrews 8:8. Now, there is a hypothesis that for blaming same he is saying is better translated to for blaming he is saying to them, behold, days are being come. Now, in order to demonstrate this, they do require the use of this being in the dative case. So let's assume this is in the dative case, which it is a manuscript variation. Blaming to same, he is saying. Let's test it. Let's search for any participle verb, and then any dative, adjective or noun, or noun, dative, plus the to say verb, which is Strong's 3004. And of course, we want to make sure we are not in reverse interlinear, in the original word order. Ordered and adjacent are checked. So here we go, messaging aside to same. Is it messaging aside, saying to them? Perhaps, but we would typically understand that he is messaging to them, saying. Or coming toward, says to them. Coming toward where? Coming toward to them, says. So as we see, if we do a review of this search, you're going to find that every single case, it really seems like you don't need to rearrange the words. The indirect object belongs to the participle. We could even check this with any verb. Is revealed to same, saying? Oh, look at that. The indirect object seems to be best fit to the verb before it and not the verb after it. And so on and so forth. There are 2 exceptions, but I won't discuss those in detail. You can find them for yourself and look and understand why they do not apply. For all of this, we have an easy way of taking a scholarly theory and testing it for yourself. Does it work? I don't think so. Finally, the last thing you can do is you can search according to the reference. For example, if I want to go to John 1:1, you can do that. You can search for as many verses as you want. Of course, if you were to do John 1:1 to 6:10, you would be limited, and you would end up only up to 324. That's because that's 100 verses. Later on, I will show you how to increase this limit if you prefer. But by default and for user-friendly speeds, I set it to 100. You can also search for multiple references at a time. You can do as many of them as you want, comma separated. Now, I will point out that when you're doing 1 Corinthians 1:1, you can do it with a space or without a space. Both will work. The other thing, you only need as many letters as necessary to get a valid result. Since there are no other books that start with 1p or 2p, it's going to assume you meant 1 Peter or 2 Peter. This also works in the other direction. As we know, revelation is often misspelled as revelations. But my tool forgives that because once it sees re, it's happy. It knows that you're going to Revelation, and it doesn't even look at the rest, so the software won't even notice that you made a mistake. This is also important for something like Philippians. Is it Philippians with 1 L and 1 P? Or 1 L and 2 P's, which is correct, or 2 L's and 2 P's? It doesn't matter. All of them will work, because all we need is the minimum number of letters to convince the tool of where you're going. I understand this video is quite a bit. I tried to organize it in a relatively smart way. As a quick review, we did discuss that you can search for ordered and adjacent in multi-word searches. I showed that you can search either reverse or regular interlinear. I showed that you can search using it contains, is exactly, without exactly, and without. I also showed that you can do multiple words, and you can use the and or the or operators to combine terms.